Good evening, everybody. My name is Carrie Martins, and I am a grateful recovering addict. By the grace of God, I am blessed with 14 years, 7 months, I just got emotional, and 7 days clean and sober. Some have said clean and serene, but by no means have those 5,327 days been all serene. By no means at all. First of all, I'd really like to thank everybody for coming to the Friends and Family event and being a part of. And we really wanted to make the theme this year a big deal when it came to family and wellness and gratitude and acceptance. As we all know, that over the last year, it's been a little bit somber and a really rough playing ground for us in addiction and alcoholism lately. First of all, I want to note the letters that are on the tables. You guys might have noticed some of the letters on there. And some of our clients and our alumni have written some letters that you will see on there. There's a couple of them that are from kids, and those are from one of our alumni, Tyson G. And his children really wanted to participate in letting you guys know of how much Fresh Start has given back to them and their family. So that's a pretty big deal. Most of the letters that are written down are letters of living amends. And a living amends is something that you can say, this is what I have back in my life today. This is not what I'm doing anymore that I used to do, those die-hard old habits. A living amends also includes the things that we are working on, the things that we can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and bring some more of that joy into our lives today. Oh yes, this last week, starting on Monday, we started National Addictions Awareness Week. And part of being a National Addictions Awareness Week is to start breaking the stigma of addiction. So on Monday, we're one of 26 groups that participated in the Wellness Walk, which was the 20th anniversary Wellness Walk. I brought 4 guys with me, and we ended up drumming with our African drums, our djembes, and we drummed everybody out of the Wellness Walk and brought them back into the Kirby Center. During that time, we actually made the front page of the Metro News, which was kind of cool. During that time, when we finished drumming everybody back into the Kirby Center, I finally sat down and was getting ready for some of the presentations to start. And as soon as I sat down, everybody started writing their clean time down on a piece of paper and throwing it into a box. This girl plopped down beside me, young-looking girl, and you could tell that she wasn't really happy to be there. And she wrote on her little piece of paper, 1/2 hour. And I was really perplexed because, first of all of the introductions that started Millennium Park was probably about 20 minutes. And then after that, the walk was approximately an hour long. So that's probably an hour and a half all total, and she'd only been clean for a half hour. So I asked her, I said, hey, what brings you here? And she goes, well, I was at the liquor store. And, 11 o'clock in the morning, she's at the liquor store and she's ready to go buy her fix for the day. And she saw this large crowd of people walking by. And it really piqued her curiosity, and she turned around from what she was doing, walked out of the liquor store, and asked what was going on. Of course, the people at the Wellness Walk, which is the point of it, because it's National Addictions Week, proceeded to tell her, hey, you know what? This is what we're doing. And she followed them. I've got to say, as much as I've realized over the years, there's no more of a perfect union of someone seeking help from any form of addiction than by following the crowd. And that's what she did. So kudos to those of us that are bringing the awareness, for you guys being here and being part of that solution. I really thank you, and I've got to congratulate you for that. I also feel very honored to have my dad speak with me, well, after me today, and really want to thank you, Dad, for taking that time. Where are you? There you are, for taking that time and being a part of this. There's one main thing that I want to clarify about addiction. It's something that took me many years to understand. That is that addiction is no longer a choice. Once I've made a decision to put a drug or alcohol into my system, I have completely eliminated and depleted my choice to stop. And that's a big piece, because sometimes we hear about disease of addiction, the dis-ease of addiction or alcoholism, and I could never wrap my head around that. I could never understand that. And like I mentioned before, over 14 years of being clean and sober, I swear to God I know nothing. And the only reason why I say that is because every day I have to rethink, but I always know where I come from. And that's part of my story, is knowing where I come from and working with fellow addicts and working in a treatment center for the last 3 years, which I'm very blessed to do. Teaching a course here that I've had the opportunity, because of Stacy, to be here and to develop that and understand more and more how our minds work and how we can start to get out of that hump and once again be part of the community. Once I put a drug into my system, the cycle of bad choices began. I may not stop until I've entered the realms of jails, institutions, or even death. And that's a really hard pill to swallow. Jennifer talks about our family healing program and that it's not your fault. And you know what? It isn't. We make the choice in the beginning, and from there, it's our disease that will take over. For many years, I'm one of those people that ran away from my family for many, many years. Starting at the age of 16, to be exact. Maybe my kids can cover their ears. And for that reason, I never learned how to be accountable. I knew what it was like to be responsible, well, because I had to pay my bills. If I wanted a car, I had to pay for my insurance. If I wanted a place to live, I had to pay for my rent. If I wanted some food on the table, I had to be able to work. I left high school halfway through grade 11, and I didn't look back. Part of my solution is now I hold 2 degrees, a certificate, and I'm working on my master's as we speak. By the grace of God, the program I teach here at Fresh Start Recovery Center is the program that I'm using for my master's, and there is nothing like it. So to have that opportunity to start breaking the stigma, my co-supervisor is in the addictions department, second in command, and also I work in the theater department too, because I have a Bachelor of Fine Arts. Like we didn't need any more drama, right? During the time that I stayed away from my family, I eventually ended up moving when I was about 18 years old, about a month before my 19th birthday, which is the legal drinking age in BC. I moved to Vancouver, British Columbia. It was, for me, it was something that I really wanted to do, and nobody was going to stop me from doing that. And I think that that stubbornness kept me going quite often and kept me there. I spent 10 years in Vancouver. By the end of that time, I was so desolate, and I think I weighed something close to 89 pounds, if you can believe it. I was never a big person, and at that point in time, I think the most I ever weighed was maybe 125 pounds, but still to lose 35 pounds just off of that was a big slap on the face. One day I finally looked in the mirror and I could see my skin hanging off my face. I could barely sit down because my spine was projected out of the backside of my body. A dear friend of mine, my boyfriend at the time, had actually made a phone call to my brother here in Calgary. And my brother got a hold of my dad, who was in the Caribbean, I think, at the time. And from there, the cycle of trying to figure out what to do with Carrie began. I remember that I called Cocaine Anonymous, the hotline, and some very nice ladies came and sat with me in my apartment and took me to detox. I don't know about you guys, but detox was kind of blown away because I kept having visitors. Who has visitors in detox? I don't know. And it's not because they're visitors of people, that my using friends or anything like that, if we want to call them friends. It's because I was well loved and I didn't see it. I didn't see it at all. Once I got a detox, my brother ended up showing up. I actually called him to tell him that I believed I was an addict and that I needed help. And he said to me, "I'm on my way." He was already boarding a plane to come see me. I ended up eventually moving back to Calgary and still in the cycle of my addiction. I went to a treatment center and refused to go in full-fledged program. I would only go in for the day program. During that time, I ended up using, and it didn't last. Through a series of 3 more treatment centers, one of them, which had a family program in the States, which a lot of our program is based off of, the Betty Ford program. My brother came and spent some time with me down there during the family program. My dad came and spent some time with me during the family program. During that time, my dad quit smoking as a representation of how much he supported me in staying clean and sober. And he remembers that, to the day, that was the day that he quit smoking. It didn't last for me. I think that was the longest that I was clean, was about 40, 45 days. I had a couple roommates that definitely didn't want to see me using my drug of choice, but of course they would still drink and use other drugs, so they accepted, as much as they didn't want to, my drug use as well. So I kept myself in a very enabling space. My family decided to have an intervention on me. And it was a very difficult time because for the first time in a really long time, my parents had been separated since I was 14, and my parents were in the same room, sitting in my living room with my grandparents and my roommates, trying to tell me, which I couldn't really hear, that I was hurting them. So of course, I agreed, being the compliant little I'm gonna shoot sunshine up your ass gal. I said, yeah, I'll go back to treatment. If I recall correctly, that treatment center didn't work either. However, there was a time when I finally really started to take a look and decided, you know what, this is a decision I need to make to go, and I did. And that's the best way for any of us to do it. Try and try and try again. I know for a fact for me that making that decision was what helps me stay clean and sober today, just because of the fact that it wasn't about me anymore. It was about me seeing who I was hurting and actually waking up to that fact. That here's all these people that want to support me, and all I would do is just keep pushing them away. I was so alone. So off I went to treatment. By the way, it was a 90-day treatment program. How many days do you think I stayed? They kept me there for 6 months. But that's good. It's a good thing. When I came back, I knew that I couldn't have idle hands. I grew up as one of those kids that was always hyper and bouncing off the walls anyway, and then you incorporate things like cocaine and that type of idea, which are pretty much a more hyper drug, into your system, and I was bonkers. I was crazy. I was out of my mind. And so my jeans started getting tight when I was in treatment. And the counselors were getting mad at me. They're like, why are you wearing such tight jeans? And I'm like, because I gained 20 pounds? And I was on a really strict budget when I was there, which was a good thing. So I learned about all those things. And so off we went to Value Village to go buy and carry some new clothes because none of them fit me anymore, which is still a good thing. During that time, my mom came and visited me when I was in treatment, and became part of that program. And when I came home, I stayed busy. And I even remember my first Christmas back, I was exhausted because I was down at Recovery Church, and I would be, serving for them. I would go and volunteer at CYOC. And make sure that I was running meetings. I was doing probably 2-3 meetings a day. I was working and I was cleaning houses, and the gal I was working for is in recovery, so I feel incredibly humble about that. And wow, just everything's just kind of rushing through me right now. But coming back, my family supported me. And it was kind of cool because my mom or my dad would say to me, hey, you know what? We want to have a glass of wine at Christmas. Do you mind? And I'm like, no, it's okay. Do what you got to do. I get this now. Because it's not about blaming you guys. It's about me taking care of myself and starting to be accountable for what I do and my actions and how I treat others. A big deal. I ended up having both my children in recovery and got married in recovery. And I never thought for the life of me I would be working in a treatment center. Never. What do you mean? I don't want to work in a treatment center. I'm Mrs. Recovery. And so the timing for that was perfect. Because I've been really sick in recovery physically and mentally. There is no doubt about it. Having my family back in my life today And working on that, because it's never been like, I don't know, unicorns and sunshine and all of that Whistling Dixie stuff. It hasn't. There's a line in a video clip that we're going to show you later, and one of our residents says that a bad day in recovery is not even close to a good day using. And it is so true. The leaps and bounds and growth that I've had to work on, because I know it's about me working on it in order to accept my family and love my family and cherish my family for who they are and what they do represent and the good things and not focus on the negative things, to me, is a miracle. Because I lived in the negative. I lived in that place like, poor me. Pour me another drink. And living in that place really helped feed my addiction. And using the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, we work towards understanding something that's bigger than ourselves. And part of that saving grace is the spiritual elements and the spirituality that I've been able to establish throughout these years. And you know what? I still get mad, and I can still get in those modes, but they're shorter. They don't last for months or even weeks, and usually not even days. Maybe a couple hours. I have a loving sponsor that I've worked with for years, doing the 12 steps of recovery. 2 weekends ago, Jennifer and I are at a big book study, hanging out, living in a dorm amongst a whole bunch of other women, living in recovery. I'm not perfect by any means, and I still struggle with family and the wellness and understanding that who I am and where I'm coming from, and trying to embrace those two things. Because I don't come from a place where it's easy for me to accept who you are. And that form of judgment is almost to a place where it's so under control. But when it comes up, I have the 12 steps to work with. And working with those direct mends whenever possible, except for when to do so would harm or injure others, is a big piece and something we work with our sponsors. And the first time I ever wanted to make an amends was I was at step 0, if there's even such a thing. I was working on my honesty, I was working on my open-mindedness, and I was working on my willingness in a very small scale. And I just wanted to go start making amends to people and telling them I was sorry. Today, I know that an amends does not mean going up to somebody and saying, I'm sorry. It's saying, this is what I feel like I've done. This is what can I do to make it better? What can I do to make it up to you? And on that list, there's usually quite a few on there that I don't want to do because I'm scared and I'm full of fear. Working with a higher power, I get to dissipate that fear. Oppa! Right on. And even over the last 2 years, my cushion with my higher power has gotten, I don't know the word, my cushion with my higher power wasn't as good. I had a lot of things going on, and I was juggling a lot of things that I never took that time out to work with my higher power and to work more with others. Because of the grace of God and my dad and you guys and my coworkers and my friends, I feel like I'm mentally and spiritually back in gear. And I'm full of gratitude for that. Full of gratitude for that. So my whole point to this is that one day at a time, the less and less sick I get, if I stay in that constant contact and communication with my family and the people that love me and telling them where I'm at. And that's okay for me to do today. Right, son? Yeah, thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. There's some more things that I wanted to say, and they don't make sense anymore to me to say those things. And I really want to bring home that it's not an easy road, but I love it. I love it. I love being in recovery. And that energy that people give me and I get to share with them. It's like a big family. It's like everybody in this room is a big family, and it's an extended family. And you get to help me, and you get to help my dad, and my sister's here too. There's my sister, hey. And my sister's seen me at the worst part of my recovery, or of my addiction as well. And, it must have been devastating, just devastating to watch. And throughout the years, we've been able to grow together, and it's so beautiful. I didn't know my sister until I was 29 years old, I think. You guys do the math, don't even guess. For that reason, she got to see the end of my addiction. And the forgiveness that woman exudes, and I'm able to give back, I'm so grateful for. And I'm so full of love for that as well, and for my dad. So in closing, I just want to share with you that as no matter as much as we're not perfect, and if you have a family member that is suffering, I want you to know that there is always a place for them to go. And I want you to know that you have support. And even come talk to me, or even talk to my dad after, or the staff, of course, because you don't have to ever be alone. It says that on our steps coming up the front door. You don't ever have to be alone. Did I say that right? Yeah. And you don't. You really don't. So thank you to everybody, and thank you for being here. To our servers doing an amazing job, and staff pitching in. So this is my daughter Leah.
What?
You're my daughter Leah.
I know.
Okay. And we're going to have about a 10-minute break, and then our next speaker is going to come up. So thank you, everybody.
Hi, everybody. How you doing? My name's Al. Never had so many people say "Hi, Al" at the same time. Thanks. Yeah, what a rough road, eh? What a rough road. If I had to do it over again, I don't think I would do it too much differently. But boy, it was a rough road for many, many years. How many of you here have a family member that's in recovery? Wow, is there anybody that doesn't? How did you get so lucky, Wayne? Some of the things I really remember that were kind of devastating to me, but, I would always remember that I got extremely lucky when I found out that Carrie was using drugs. I got really, really fortunate that I found a addiction recovery professional like almost instantly after I found out what Carrie was doing. And thank God I did that. I mean, it's very simple math. How many of you guys know what 1 squared is? How many? 1, right? What's 2 squared? 4, right? Why is that important? Well, 2 of you are 4 times as more effective than 1 of you are, or one of them as what I could have been, because I was really not an individual when I first found out about what happened to one of my daughters. And you know, the one word that I learned that was extremely positive, how many of you have heard the word con? How many of you know what a con is? Do you know what a con is? Do you know when the word started? It started in about the 1920s. And con is actually a very, very positive word. It comes from the word confidence. And if you remember, a lot of you probably weren't around then, but if you can remember some of the history, a con man was somebody that filtrated into a bunch of people that smuggled alcohol. They were confidence men, and so they established confidence. They established confidence. How many of you people that have kids in recovery, do you remember how the kids would establish confidence? Nothing wrong with me. I'm fine, right? There's no issues, right? How many times did you go through that cycle? You know, it was really hard. And again, if I hadn't found a addiction recovery professional, I'm not sure I'd be here today. Because somehow, some way, we made it through everything, you know, and it's a tough road. I mean, I can remember through being conned, you know, I lost all the confidence I ever had. I was distraught. I asked Carrie if he could remember tonight some of the other things I felt. I felt complete despair. I felt like I was totally kicked in the rear end and kicked in the butt. And how could this even happen to me? How could this even happen to me? And, you know, it took a long time. It took a long time. I guess I just need to take 6 deep breaths here for a second. The best thing that happened to me tonight was to listen to Carrie talk about the past and remember all the bad things, but also to really, really remember the good parts. And as Carrie said, to remember the positive parts and the positive parts today. I mean, when I look back, I told you what I felt like, and in between there, I felt a lot of happiness and peace. You know, that after 14 years, I did quit smoking. I think I quit one day before Carrie, April 12th, 14 years ago. I still smoke the odd cigar. But you can get away with that, right? You can't get away with having one drink. And the other thing that I've done, Carrie, and I'm not so sure why, in the last 63 or 64 days, I haven't had one drink. Wow. Is that pretty good? And why would I do this at such a early stage in my life? You know, it just said, I guess it was time. You know, it was, maybe it was because I knew I had to prepare for this, or maybe I just, you know, I found out the biggest thing that I ever found out was, you know, how many of you want to go home and have a drink? I found out that I could go home and not have that drink and, you know, actually feel better. You know, and I work really hard to be extremely healthy, but, you know, matter how much I drank, I always, each year, each month, each week, I was always feeling a little worse. And, you know, the part that's unique, when you don't drink at all, your own drugs are way more powerful and a heck of a lot more powerful, right, than anything out there that you could take. I'm not suggesting you go and try all of these things, but you know what? Your own drugs are extremely powerful. And, you know, I've never, ever, probably in my life, and it's great to hear Carrie say how well she's feeling and pretty emotional about that. And And I was pretty glad that, she remembered me. But I tell you, some of those times were tough. When she talked about running away from the family at an early age, she took off at 16 to Vancouver. I didn't have a clue. I know that there was a few parties that we had in one of our houses that Carrie probably drank a little too much, but you don't have a clue that was really a pretty serious situation. And, I always wondered, and I just, as she said, her boyfriend, through my son, called and said, Alan, your daughter's using cocaine. And of course I said, well, that's not possible. And then I looked back and I could see. And the interesting part about cocaine, I'm an owner of a hockey team who, by the way, is slightly ahead 2-1 in Chicago tonight. Part owner. And the thing that was really, God, I lost my train of thought here. I can't believe I did that just because they're beating Chicago, but where was I? Carrie, where was I? What's that? Oh, I got a call, yeah. And I tried to get back there as fast as I could. And, again, Carrie, she said she was ready to do something, and probably she said that about 4 or 5 times. As she said, she went into 3 or 4 recovery centers, and finally she went into the Talbot Recovery Center. And again, if it wasn't for this addiction recovery specialist or professional, I wouldn't have known what to do. But this person helped me get her down to Talbot Recovery Center. And as she said, she went down there for, I think she went down there for 90 days. And like she said, she was there 6 months. And thank God, I had to be going down there fairly often. I had to call down through my my professional and get him to really work on those people. These people were really looking after people that were addicts that were doctors that were addicts, especially, what do you call those people that give you drugs so you can have surgery, and anesthesiologists were there, and they were really hard for them to get off of drugs. And then there was a lot of medical doctors and nurses, but it was the only place I could find at that time that would look after somebody for a long time. And so that's one thing, I really got to know Fresh Start Recovery, because they bring people in and they keep them around here for a long time to give people the chance, to really get into serious recovery. And I don't know, Stacy, is it like 100 or 200 days you keep people to give them a chance to really get going? No set time. You're supposed to say it takes a long time because you need more donations. Yeah, so you need more donations so you can keep them around longer. Stacy, there you go. Thank you very much. So I really do put in a great plug for Fresh Start Recovery, because I do know that, we work with my foundation, Pure North Synergy Foundation, and we really work hard with Stacy and his people to really give these people a chance. And one of the things I found about Stacy and his people, they are all extremely professional. And, you guys give them all a big clap, all of them that are working here. And then give them money. I'm just kidding. I just wanted to maybe say a few more words about some of the things that I felt. Now I'm so pleased that Carrie's in recovery, and she has her ups and downs just like the rest of us. But the best thing that ever happened to me is that she did that she did become an addict. And why would I say that's the best thing that ever happened to me? Well, it made me a lot wiser. Like, what is life all about? Like, why are we on this earth? I figured out from Shakespeare why Carrie's on this earth. And she didn't talk about and brag about one of the things that she does the most, but Shakespeare always said, the whole stage, the whole earth, or the whole world is your stage. And Carrie, you know, she got a couple degrees, and now she teaches drama. And she's become, from what I can tell, one of the best teachers that I know about there, of kids, adults, and teaching me. And she got me a lot wiser. Thank you very much.